Good day, sir. I am Edelle Taleon from Section C. So my report is all about Republic Act number 6969, Republic Act 7076, Republic Act number 7586. So first, the Republic Act 6969 of the Philippines is also known as Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control of 1990. The act was carried out to control, supervise, and regulate activities on toxic chemicals and hazardous waste. Under this act, the importation, manufacture, processing, handling, storage, transportation, sale, distribution, use, and disposal of all unregulated chemical substances, mixtures in the Philippines, as well as the entry even in transit or storage and disposal of hazardous and nuclear waste are regulated. Republic Act number 6969, or the Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control of Act of 1990, year of enactment and implementation, enacted and implemented in 1990, purpose control of toxic substances and hazardous and nuclear waste control area nationwide overview. So it has been recognized that the public and environment are at risk in the use of exposure to chemicals, as well as the long-term damage brought about by careless handling or disposal of hazardous waste. Next, to control, supervise, and regulate activities on toxic chemicals and hazardous waste. Under this act, importation, manufacture, processing, handling, storage, transportation, sale, distribution, use, and disposal of all unregulated chemical substances and mixtures in the Philippines, as well as the entry, even in transit or storage and disposal of hazardous and nuclear waste are regulated. So next, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources shall be the implementing agency and shall be assisted by the Interagency Advisory Council. So next, it provides for the regulation of all chemical substances that may pose threat to public health and the environment through import, manufacture, sale, use, distribution, and disposal, as well as the regulation of all hazardous waste from generation, transport, storage, reuse or recycling, treatment, and disposal. Registration of the following is required to ensure that industrial economic growth is achieved in an environmentally sound manner to effectively manage hazardous waste in order to minimize human and environmental impacts caused by industrial activities. So first, hazardous waste generators, hazardous waste treater, hazardous waste transporter. Violators shall be subject to fines, imprisonment, dismissal from office, confiscation and forfeiture chemical substances and mixtures in favor of the government, deportation and barred from entry into the Philippines in case of foreigner. So the next Republic Act is the Republic Act number 7076, defines small-scale mining as mineral exploration that employs manual labor with simple implements and methods and not explosive or heavy equipment. So small-scale miners must form cooperatives to be duly licensed by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or the DENR. The DENR's Mines and Geosciences Bureau, or the MGB, estimates the number of small-scale miners in the country at 3,000. RA 7076, or the Act creating People's Small-Scale Mining Program, allows the creation of People's Small-Scale Mining Areas. Under the law, small-scale mining operations are overseen by the Provincial Mining Regulatory Board, composed of the MGB Director as chair and the Provincial Governor as vice chair. Its members should come from small-scale and large-scale mining interests in a non-government environmental organization. In 2012, President Aquino signed Executive Order Number 79 to institutionalize and implement reforms in the mining sector. Section 11 of the law restricts small-scale miners to Minahang Bayan zones and prohibits large-scale mining in these areas. So there are currently 3 Minahang Bayan sites, one in the province of Quezon, another in Dinagat Island, and another in Agusan del Norte province. So EO 79 also restricts small-scale mining to the extraction of gold, silver, and chromite, but not any other metallic minerals. It prohibits the use of mercury. So according to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, small-scale gold mining contributed 3,000 million pesos in gross production value in the mining in 2013. So the next Republic Act is the Republic Act number 7586. So provides for the establishment and management of a National Integrated Protective Area System, or the NEPAS. Declaration of policy. It is the policy of the state to secure for the Filipino people of present and future generation the perpetual existence of all native plants and animals through the establishment of a comprehensive system of integrated protected areas within the classification of national park as provided for in the Constitution of NEPAS. NEPAS is the classification and administration of all designated protected areas to maintain essential ecological processes and life support system, to preserve genetic diversity, to ensure sustainable use of resources found therein, and to maintain their natural conditions to the greatest extent possible. NEPAS shall encompass outstanding remarkable areas and biologically important public lands that are habitats of rare and endangered species of plants and animals, biogeographic zones and related ecosystems, whether terrestrial, wetland, or marine, all of which shall be designated as protected areas. So categories and definitions. National Park is a forest reservation, essentially of natural wilderness character, which has been withdrawn from settlement, occupancy, or any form of exploitation, except in conformity with an approved management plan and set aside as such to conserve the area or preserve the scenery, natural and historic objects, wild animals and plants therein, and to provide enjoyment of these features in such areas. Protected area in an identified portion of land and water set aside by reason of their unique physical and biological significance, managed to enhance biological diversity and protected against destructive human exploitation. Protected areas are categorized as first, the strict nature reserve, an area possessing some outstanding ecosystem features and species of flora and fauna of national scientific importance, established to protect nature and natural processes and maintain ecological representative examples of the natural environment for scientific study, environmental monitoring, and education. So natural park are relatively large area not materially altered by human activity, where extractive resource uses are not allowed and which is maintained to protect outstanding natural and scenic areas of national or international significance for scientific, educational, and recreational use. So natural monument, a relatively small area focused on the protection of nationally significant natural features on account of their special interests of unique characteristic. So wildlife sanctuary, an area that assures the natural conditions necessary to protect nationally significant species, groups of species, biotic communities, or physical features of the environment, where this may require specific human manipulation for perpetuation. Protected landscapes and seascapes, area of national significance that provide opportunities for public enjoyment through recreation and tourism within the normal lifestyle and economic activity of the resident community. Reserve, resource reserve, an extensive and relatively isolated and uninhabited area normally with difficult access designated as such to protect the natural resources for future use and prevent or control development that Agusan Marsh, a biodiversity asset. There are three major marshes in the Philippines. First, the Candaba Swamp in Central Luzon. Second, the Liguasan Marsh in Western Mindanao. And third is the Agusan Marsh in East Central Mindanao. Much of the first has been drained and converted into rice fields and fish ponds. The second contains significant crocodile populations and has been accorded partial protected area status. The peace and order situation there provides options for conservations included in the country's top 10 sites under protected area system. The Agusan Marsh holds a great variety of wetland habitats. Beside numerous rivers and creeks, there are areas of floodplain, lakes, herbaceous swamp, scrub swamp, and freshwater swamp forests, peat swamp, and mixed swamp forests with a thick, close canopy where disturbance has been minimal. So Agusan Marsh is a refuge for large populations of the crocodiles, Crocodylus porosus, and uh, Mederenses, whose numbers have been reduced drastically elsewhere in the country. So a major reason for the high biodiversity in Agusan Marsh is that it includes both true wetland and terrestrial species. The thick swamp forests hold a high diversity of typically terrestrial birds in the open water areas and the herbaceous. So marshes hold true wetland birds already even with limited surveys. 102 species have been recorded, of which at least 20 are endemic to Philippines. To the Philippines, the people living around Agusan Marsh depends on it for food and livelihood. Attractive options for increasing the income of the local people include deep water, rice cultivation, and fish culture at the periphery of the Marsh Nepas Act. So could affect the resource depending on the establishment of objectives based upon appropriate knowledge and planning natural biotic areas, areas set aside to allow the way of life of societies living in harmony with the environment to adapt to modern technology at their pace. These societies include the indigenous cultural community, a group of people sharing common bonds of language, customs, traditions, and other distinctive cultural traits, and who have since the immemorial occupied, possessed, and utilized a territory. Tenured migrant communities, those that have actually and continuously occupied a protective area for 5 years and who are solely dependent there for subsistence. Other categories established by law, conventions for or international agreements of which the Philippine government is signatory. So that's all my report, sir, for Republic Act number 6969, Republic Act 7076, Republic Act 7586. So thank you so much, sir, and God bless you always.